I gift my daughter a college fund, but she comes back pregnant and her loser BF shoves his demand list in my face. Oh boy, I laugh and revoke her fund. My husband, 51, and I, 49, female, have a daughter, 21, Amanda. We plan for our children's future with a college fund and a small amount of money to get them started. As a teacher, I've always believed that college is not always for everyone, and didn't want to force this if our children were not interested. We also let them know that this money was not their money but ours, and we would not be using it so they could just live. We raised our kids to be responsible for their actions and the consequences of said actions, which brings us to the issue. About 2 years ago while at college, Amanda met a guy, Tony, 24. Tony was not a student but lived in the college town. We met him a few times and were not impressed by him or his life goals. She and I are close, and a few times over the course of the relationship, she mentioned issues that were red flags to me. When she asked for advice, I was honest, and if she told me to back off, I would. With global issue, classes went virtual, so dorms closed. Tony invited her to move in with him and his family. We would have rather she come home. In the summer, Tony suggested that they move in with us because his family had taken our daughter in for 3 months. I should probably remember that our home is a few blocks from the ocean, and a couple of towns from popular summer hangout. We told our daughter she could come home but not Tony. Tony was very upset by this and said if she came without him, it was over. She ended up staying with him and found out she was pregnant last July. She and Tony arrived with a plan. The plan was basically us supporting them as they would be raising our grandchild. We rejected this plan, and I was able to get my daughter alone. I explained the reality of what life would look like with Tony and their child. I let her know that while we would still pay for college, we would not pay for a place to live, childcare, Tony, baby expenses, etc. I also let her know that while she could always visit, she could not return home full-time with the baby as we are nearing retirement, and the baby is just not a part of that plan. We talked about options, and I let her know that she was free to do what was right for her and Tony, but that they should not plan on any support from us beyond what a grandparent would do. She talked to him and went ahead with the pregnancy. Amanda has always understood that her actions are her responsibility, but Tony has not seemed to grasp the concept. He asks weekly for favors and help that we already said we would not do. Tony's family thinks we are the idiots for not providing more help, and his mother thinks that we are punishing them for not doing things the right way. Most of my family thinks we're right because Amanda and Tony knew what we would provide before moving forward with the pregnancy. And if they were not in the position to have a child, then they shouldn't have had one, not the idiot. That's a horrible plan, and Tony does not sound like he has any business having a baby within the next 10 years or ever. Not the idiots. If Tony's family thinks someone should pay for all Tony and Amanda's expenses, they can do it. I love the punishing them for not doing things the right way comment like, do they think OP was gonna bankroll them if they got married? Even aside from the fact that no one has an obligation to support their healthy adult child, I very much doubt OP is rolling in wealth. Teachers aren't exactly known for making great salaries. It's fantastic that they were able to carefully save money for college, but that doesn't mean the money is endless, not the idiot. Your daughter knew the options after you laid them out and she made her own decisions. No one should plan to have a child unless they're emotionally and financially stable. Grandparents shouldn't be asked to fully financially take care of a grandchild, especially with the parents in the picture, not the idiot. They are adults and made their decision. It's not your job to enable Tony to have a lifestyle he hasn't earned. It almost sounds like he picked your daughter because he thinks you have money. Once he realizes you aren't budging, we'll see how long he sticks around. You should also make a will that puts your money in a trust if anything happens to you so he doesn't get his grubby hands on it. Ask your daughter to consider getting long-term birth control after the baby is born. This seems like a situation in which you'll get a lot of grandkids in a short period of time. Yeah, I kinda doubt this was a complete accident. I think Tony might have messed with her birth control thinking it would be his ticket to Easy Street, also known as living off her parents. I doubt she even knows. It's terrible. She hasn't figured out what kind of a professional mooch this guy is. Or maybe she doesn't care. I think it's more likely she's just a bit naive though, unfortunately. I'm male 32 and my wife is 31. We have had friends who have fostered, and we understand the good it would do for the children if we were to foster them. When I was 27, we were already financially stable. I work in the tech field and my wife is a biomedical engineer. At the time, we'd already purchased our house, thanks to the good graces of our parents, and were earning well. We felt this was the time we could help those in need. We wanted to foster older children because they usually didn't get adopted and would struggle in the foster care. We met 3 children who needed a home and wanted to be together. They were 2 girls and a little boy. They had been out of multiple foster homes and needed help. We took them on because we knew their father would be released from prison in 3 years, and their mother was working very hard to be one day able to provide for them. We were able to put them in one of the top public charter schools in the state, buy them clothes, and allow them to pursue activities. We really gelled together, but we were always clear we were only caring for them till their parents could take them back. We even brought them to Japan as my brother-in-law works there, and we wanted to give them some exposure. When I was 29, their father was released and they were given custody. It was a very tough time for the kids, especially the 2 girls, as they had really grown attached to us, but they belonged with their parents. A year ago we had our baby boy. Ever since then our lives have revolved around him, and we couldn't be happier. Last week, I got a call from CPS. Unfortunately, their parents can no longer take care of them. The mother flaked on them and the father was in jail. The CPS worker begged us to take them back. She even sent videos of them crying and calling us their real parents. I agreed to visit them, and they cried begging us to take them back. I felt really bad, but I came to comfort them not to take them home. Life has changed and I'm no longer in a position to look after them. I told the CPS worker I am not willing to foster them. She blew a fuse and called me an idiot for abandoning them. The eldest called me an idiot as well for favoring our new child over them. So am I? You are the idiot. So you aren't required to take them on, but you are wrong for how you handled this. How would you go to see them, to comfort them when you refuse to take them back in? They see you as their parents, and you rejected them and told them they aren't your kids since you have a real child now. You are in no way obligated to take on these kids, but your actions were damaging to them. You're all idiots here. You, obviously, because you took care of them for 3 years and they thought you loved and cared about them, but I'm really questioning the CPS worker's ethics. What is she doing telling those kids and taking videos of them crying? I've never worked or been familiar with how CPS works. Can someone tell me if that's appropriate behavior or not? Not the idiot. You wanted to do a good thing by taking care of children temporarily. You purposefully chose a short-term commitment. While the children were in your care, it sounds like you did a great job with them. You did not make a lifelong commitment to these children. The CPS worker is completely out of line in how she responded. She needs to be reported. I hope the children find other foster parents who do as good a job as you and your wife did. No idiots here. It sucks for the kids, but you are not their parents even though you took them in for a time. I would report the CPS worker to a higher-up. As for the older girl, she is distraught. She looks to you as a person of safety. It's hard to have your hopes crushed. And in her situation, you crushed her dreams of being a family with you and your wife. You need to do what is right for your household. My 27 female sister is the 3rd born out of 4 siblings with me being the youngest, and we have 2 older brothers. Both our brothers have kids, and I have 2 kids of my own. And whenever our sister finds out there's a baby on the way, she acts like it's the worst thing in the world. She doubled down on this with me because I'm a woman. Once the kids were born, she wouldn't let them call her auntie, which is okay. Said she'd never willingly babysit, which no one ever asked her to do. Then she started making comments which she presented as jokes, e.g., calling the kids leeches. She won't interact with any of her 7 total nieces and nephews. She attends events with them there but ignores them the whole time except for when she complains that she came out to talk to adults, not deal with little kids. Her husband is the same. I'm getting married. I want my kids there, as well as my nieces and nephews and a handful of other kids from both families. I also don't want my sister moaning about being surrounded by kids as they probably make up about 1/4 or 1/3 of the guest list, so my sister isn't invited. However, I figured I'd have to have a conversation with my sister and brother-in-law to tell them what I'm planning, so they aren't blindsided when the invites go out in a few weeks. Sister is treating this as an affront. She is highly offended that I won't be inviting her, and that she was being excluded over her lifestyle. I said, it's not the lifestyle, it's the attitude. She's saying I've not even given her a chance, and that, as I was her bridesmaid, she should at least get an invite. And I said I'm being a huge idiot for excluding her from my wedding over this. I said that if she wasn't such an idiot to the kids, then I wouldn't need to exclude her in the first place. Dad agrees that I should invite who I want, but Mom sides with my sister, saying it's unfair I'm excluding her and that she should be invited. Plus, it's not likely she'll do anything, And the worst thing she could possibly do, given her history, is tell another adult that she isn't a fan of all the kids there. Am I the idiot? You're all idiots here. I'm landing with your mom. It's not like the two of you have had a bad relationship by the sounds of it. You were her bridesmaid after all. So I feel the reason for denying someone an invitation like this should be a bit stronger than they'll probably make a comment about a kid or two. It doesn't sound like you actually tried to sit them down about their behavior either during any of this. Maybe give them a small pep talk on how this behavior is a real bummer and you won't have it at your wedding. Don't get me wrong, you have every right to invite anyone you want to your wedding. But I do feel the majority of people would agree that this is a pretty nasty reason to exclude your sister. Not the idiot. And I say this as a happily child-free person. You should be able to enjoy your wedding, without your sister complaining about the kids. If she isn't into kids and doesn't want to be around them, fine. But insulting them, completely ignoring them, and you know she'll do the same at your wedding, so no. Invite who you want. You are the idiot. Her complaining about something to an adult doesn't seem big enough to exclude her from your wedding. Unless you're trying to go no contact with her for some reason. Complainers are annoying, but that's it. Just ask her not to complain that day. But either way, she is only making a complaint to an adult. What? Hopi is so not the idiot. She is clear that she plans to be the same entire pain in the butt attention monger that she's been at every other family event for half a decade. I wouldn't invite her to the opening of an envelope. This isn't about child-free versus child-full parents. This is about not tolerating awful behavior just because you share DNA. My infant son is my mother-in-law's only grandchild. She delights in buying him things he does not need, e.g., coat hangers, when she knows we have nowhere to hang his clothes. They're all folded in drawers. She also loves to give him clothes. The problem is the clothes she gifts are all really girly. Some of the clothes she's bought him include a pink shirt with a crown and the words Beauty Queen, a pale pink onesie with girl power spelled out in flowers, a white onesie with Nana's girl embroidered on in pink, a pink tutu. The only thing she's ever given him that aren't pink were a frilly romper with red and blue flowers, which he hasn't grown into yet. A frilly romper out of a very cute beehive fabric, which I can't use as it's so badly made, is unsafe, strangulation risk. A white and green onesie, size newborn, after she had spoken to me about clothing sizes, and I'd confirmed he was 2 sizes larger than newborn. Now I'm not terrified of my son wearing pink. He has plain pink clothes. He has clothes with pink apples on. He has clothes with purple, pink, and blue stripes. He has clothes with yellow love hearts. He has a purple and gray cardigan. But the clothes my mother-in-law buys are something else. I always just say, thank you for the thought, but he has plenty of clothes. And if she asks for ideas, I suggest, what about a toy or a book? Mostly she just says anything we don't need to pass on to a friend who can use it, which I do. Everything was fine until mother-in-law asked over Easter why my son never wears anything she gives us, and I explained it's all a little bit girly. But I have a friend who has girl and we swap clothes. Her girl is the first after a long line of boys, and so she gets nothing very girly in her hand-me-downs. Mother-in-law huffed that she didn't think people worried about that these days, which I get. I buy him dolls and trucks. 95% of my son's clothes are what I consider gender neutral. He's a baby. He doesn't need his shirt to state if he's Nana's girl or Nana's boy. If when he's old enough to make a preference he wants more girly stuff, then I would never tell him it was for girls. But while he's a baby with no preference, I don't feel comfortable dressing him in stuff which says Nana's girl even just for a photo for Nana. My mother-in-law says I'm being too fussy, and it's not fair she never gets to see him wear anything she's given him. And giving away excess I don't need isn't the same as giving away everything they give him. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. It's obvious your mother-in-law wanted a granddaughter. She doesn't get to run that agenda on your son. Imagine if OP went along with her insanity, and years later, her son sees many photos of his grandma with a baby wearing onesies saying Nana's girl or other nonsense. I definitely would be upset. Also, I feel sorry for him if OP has more children and they have a daughter. Will grandma ignore him now that she's got a granddaughter? It's obviously she'll go all out with girly clothes and stuff for her. Seriously, misgendering people does go both ways. I'd be pretty bloody annoyed if someone kept trying to push clothes that literally say I'm a girl onto me when I'm definitely not. Regardless of my chromosomes, I'm decidedly a boy, well, a man, and this grandma's girl crap is just messed. Makes me wonder what's going on with grandma and if she's okay. Yeah. There's a difference between a pink onesie and a pink onesie that literally says, Nana's girl. That's not kinda girly. That's if you see it in the market, you assume the child's gender because the gender is written on their clothes, not the idiot, wondering how old is your mother-in-law. Could there be some cognitive difficulties? Like, she might truly believe she has a granddaughter and not a grandson, and is just bluffing with, she didn't think people worried about these days to cover up her confusion. Reason I think this is because I've dealt with elderly people, and they can be very good at covering up memory problems in early stages of Alzheimer's or other types of dementia. My daughter and her boyfriend celebrated Easter with us, me, my husband, and our son, her brother. I asked her boyfriend to stay in our guest room as they aren't married yet. And my husband and I believe it's inappropriate to share a bed before marriage. Neither her or her boyfriend said anything at the time, but later it came up that they don't visit more often because we won't allow them to sleep together. I think this is ridiculous. After all, it's our house and our rules. My daughter agreed, but then said she'd still prefer to sleep with her boyfriend, and thinks our rule is what's actually ridiculous. She then tried to tell us that they still respect our rule. I pointed out that she was clearly lying about that, since she was withholding her very presence from her own family. I said she was punishing us for having a very reasonable rule and that she obviously doesn't truly respect our house, our rules. She changed the subject then. At the end of their trip, I asked when next we'll see them again, and was told maybe the 4th July, unless they make plans with boyfriend's family first. When I pointed out she was still trying to punish us, who waits 3 months in between visits to their parents, she just left. My husband feels that I'm right, and our daughter is being unspeakably rude, but my son thinks we're in the wrong and it's not a big deal. Edit. She's 25 and he's 26. They've been together for 3 years and living together for 2. I didn't include this because the rule isn't based on their ages or if they're cohabiting, so I don't think it was important. They will be allowed to share a bed under our roof once they're married and not a second sooner. Some people seem to think we're upset that she's choosing to stay in a hotel room instead of with us. This is not the case. She's choosing to avoid seeing us at all, instead of spending time with her family. You are the idiot. You're not just asking them to follow your rules, you seem to feel entitled to control her feelings about your rules. My rules have affected her comfort at my home and she stays here less as a result. How can I force my adult child to visit? If you don't like the outcome, you can change your rules if you like. You cannot force her to do anything. She's not disrespecting you. She is respecting her own wishes. Congratulations on raising a woman with boundaries who isn't a doormat. I really mean that you should be proud. Your house, your rules, agreed. Her body, her rules too. I love how the daughter is not respecting the rule by not visiting. If you want a dog to come to you, you give it treats. If you want a person to come to you, you treat it well. You are the idiot. Firstly, for not mentioning their ages that are 2,526, and they have been cohabiting partners for 3 years. For all intents and purposes, they live as a stable married couple. This is relevant to your story. Do you have the right to set such a rule for your household? Sure you do. No one's stopping you. But this rule infantilizes your adult daughter and trivializes her long-term relationship. This guy might be your son-in-law one day. Why not treat him like family now? Also, 3 months in between parental visits is not a long time. For all these reasons, you are wrong, even though it is your house and your rules.